Hello, we're back, I guess, for our first official one, right? So today we're going to go over a couple of different things. I wanted to kind of call this changing some of the misconceptions of the eruption and items that were found afterwards. And so today what we're going to take a look at is some special items that are here on the property, and they haven't been looked at in 43 years. And I figured, let's take a really close look, and so you'll see what I mean. So let's go. I'm starting to think that I might have to buy a golf cart or something to go around this place. Anyway, all jokes aside, one of the things I want to showcase today is to show you the cars that we have on this property. We have multiple vehicles that were recovered from the Mount St. Helens eruption. We also have motorcycles going by. But I want to go over those cars in detail. Who do they belong to, and what do we see in these cars today? And how do they tell the story of this pyroclastic surge? So let's go take a look. This is the current display at North Fork Survivors, and these are the vehicles placed outside. We have another vehicle inside that we're going to go over on another day, but this is how we have them presented right now. The vehicles that have flowers by them indicate that they were associated with a fatality, and we tell those people's stories here. I get to go underneath the ropes here. It makes me feel special, like we're going in a place we're not supposed to. Okay, so before we take a look at all of these cars, I'm interrupting right in the middle of my own video because I want to go over the wall that you see in the background on some of the other pieces that I've done, standing at my counter and talking about stuff or whatever. But this wall right here explains the information about the people that are involved with these cars. So each car that's outside that has flowers by it is associated with a fatality, and it is absolutely imperative that we tell these individual stories. So we're going to just take a moment, a little intermission here, and we're going to go over each one of the individuals that's involved with these vehicles that we're going to take a look at, because in the end, their story supersedes anything that we're going to be doing with cars. So let's take that moment and do that. Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Robert Landsberg out of Portland, Oregon. And his story is quite unique because he was 4.5 miles west of Mount St. Helens, was actually there to take pictures of the mountain, and had positioned himself accordingly, understanding that there was a risk that the north side of the mountain could collapse. So he set himself kind of a southwest position from the mountain. We know that morning he took 4 photos. The 4 photos are right here. And these photos are all heat damaged from the eruption. And those photos are the closest photos to the start of the eruption that we know of. And so Mr. Landsberg that morning stood with his tripod, took those photos, advanced the film in between each shot that he took. And then he realizes he's in a lot of trouble. The surge actually expanded in front of him and came over the mountainside where he was, and then he realized he wasn't going to be able to get away, so he rewound the film in its cartridge inside the camera, took the camera off the tripod, put it in his backpack, and laid the backpack on the ground and laid himself on top of it to protect the film. At least that's what we think he was doing. The surge hit him at almost 400 degrees. A log hit his car and blew it into pieces onto the road. And 17 days later, the National Guard flying over sees the wheels of his Dodge Coronet 500 sticking up out of the ash, and so they land, and they find Mr. Landsberg. They find his backpack with the camera in it, and the camera is taken apart and the film is intact. He'd actually pulled it off. Now, we've learned that Mr. Landsberg is actually a professional photographer because we found business cards from him inside of his car, and we know now he owned a company called Robert Landsberg Images. And so as a photographer, one of the things in life you'd like to do, it would be to get in a good periodical, Time magazine, something like that. Well, lo and behold, January 1981, he makes it into National Geographic magazine. His photos, his stories, he paid for it with his life, but he pulled it off. In the upper right over here, we have Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick out of Redmond, Oregon. And they were camping that morning at a place called Steamboat Rocks near Elk Rock. And that was roughly about 8.5 miles away or so from Mount St. Helens. And the surge, when it was approaching their location, we know that, or we're pretty sure that they saw it coming. Now, Joyce was a supervisor in an egg processing plant, and Harold was a pipe fitter, and they had decided to go camping. Joyce had been going through a recent divorce, and the idea was to take the kids out for a nice weekend, and Harold offered to take them out for the weekend. Her kids actually had something that they had to do that weekend, and it seems that Dad got involved and helped out with that part of it. And so the truck is loaded and set up, and Harold suggested, let's go anyway. And so they went for the weekend. Very good that the kids weren't there in this particular situation. But from the scene reconstruction, it seems that they saw the surge coming that morning. They jumped into the 79 Chevy Love, drove a short distance, and for whatever reason they made a decision to abandon the vehicle and run. And they were overtaken by the surge. Their campsite was discovered in October of 1980, quite late after the eruption, and they were found by reclamation loggers and brought home. Their Chevy Love pickup truck is here now as a scientific example of the impact of this pyroclastic surge on a man-made item at a known given distance, and we can actually see the melt patterns and so forth inside of it, indicating the temperatures of this pyroclastic surge. We also have some of their camping gear here, a seat pad, a camping stove, and some other miscellaneous items that are made out of different materials, and again, these tell the story of what was happening inside of this pyroclastic surge. Blue, Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick with Arlene and Jolene Edwards out of Portland, Oregon. And it's mom and daughter. And we know that that morning they were going to take their sister Roxanne with them also. Jolene and Roxanne with mom, Arlene. And they were going to go take pictures up at Elk Rock, roughly in the same vicinity that Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick were in. And that particular morning, we know that Arlene borrowed her boyfriend's truck and drove up to Elk Rock. Excellent vantage point to see the mountain at a very good distance, and in an area that was deemed safe at that particular time, the blue zone. From what we know at the scene, the truck was hit from the front by the surge and flipped over onto its roof, and the interior melted. Arlene was 300 feet above where the truck was to get a good vantage point to take pictures of the mountain that morning, and Jolene was with their 2 dogs down by the truck. And unfortunately, they did not survive this eruption, and their photographs did not survive the eruption. We have an example here. I'm going to kind of digress a little bit to give an idea at the Elk Rock position. When their truck was flipped over, the dashboard of the Dodge 100, or the Dodge W100, I recovered it, and this is it. And as you notice, it is melted upwards. But this is something that we see as far as melt pattern that's quite common with a lot of these items. And so what we're seeing is that it's melted and distorted, but it's not a pool. And we see this quite a bit with the Mount St. Helens artifacts. that they are distorted and melted, but they are not a puddle of plastic. And the reason being is that this pyroclastic surge was moving and acted a lot like a heat pulse as it went over items. So that's kind of a brief rundown on the individuals that were involved with this this eruption, and unfortunately did not survive, but they are represented by their vehicles and their items that are here. And so now we're going to continue on and take a look at these vehicles up close. So hopefully you enjoyed that little cut that I did with the history of what we're looking at here. And this right here, car that belonged to Mr. Robert Landsberg out of Portland, Oregon. Some of the fun things about this car that we've learned about his story, and we've actually kind of changed it, is that my colleague Dave Keeler and I, in September and in August of 2023, did a survey on this car. We picked it up and turned it over to see if anything was inside of the vehicle. Well, we found a whole bunch of items that belong to Mr. Landsberg in there, and those are the ones that we just showed you. The business cards and the items that were there, like the comb and so forth. A lot of truck traffic today, and people going up to the mountain. That's what we like to see here, tourists moving. Today is especially quiet here, not the best. But we're going to take a look at this car up close, and let's see what we can see. Okay, here we are looking at the front of the vehicle. This is a 1969 Dodge Coronet 500 station wagon. The dent in the one side of it is actually from a tree. This vehicle, being 4.5 miles away from Mount St. Helens on the west side that morning, was apparently, according to a conversation I had last night with Robert Rogers out of Portland, who actually walked on this scene shortly after the point where the National Guard had brought Mr. Landsberg home, indicated that a tree had hit the vehicle and blown it apart, and we still see the dent from that right now, indicating the force of the pyroclastic surge at 4.5 miles. Another thing we note is that there is no engine inside of it. The engine and the battery were actually in the road on the west side of Mount St. Helens, and Mr. Rogers actually confirmed that last night, and stated that the engine and transmission and the battery was still attached with cables, was in the road. Or at least that's the impression that I got. We do not have the rear half of this vehicle. It was disintegrated by the eruption. The passenger side of the car actually runs the length right here, all the way to the rear tailgate. Okay, we're over here right now in front of our second vehicle. This is Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick out of Redmond, Oregon. And previous to this, it just showed you the little snapshot with their photos and so forth. Again, this vehicle was recovered in October of 1980 by reclamation loggers very late after the eruption, compared to other people and items that were found. October of 1980, they were towards the end of major stuff that was being found. Reclamation loggers, got to give a shout out. A lot of work, all of the timber, all of these logs that were blown down, removed by hand with trucks and chainsaws, and they tell stories of the chainsaws wearing out from the ash and the bark of the trees and so forth. These are people that we're going to recognize here that did an unbelievable job in cleanup and reclamation of all of this timber. But as usual, I digress. This vehicle right here was hit on the side of it and was actually rolled on its axis. It's a 1979 Chevy Love pickup truck. And everything we see indicates that, and from the recovery scene indicates that they tried to drive away from this surge. They must have seen it coming and for whatever reason made a decision to get out and run. And this information is also chronicled in a book that we're going to talk about a little bit later in this particular episode by my colleague Richard Waite, and it's called In the Path of Destruction, and I'll make sure that I show you that on here so that you can look that up. Highly recommend that you read it, especially if you're going to watch this series as we go along, when I get Scott Kemery, Dave Keeler, Eric Cole, and a fun one now, we're apparently going to have Robert Rogers helping us, and he in himself is just an amazing story involved with the eruption, but that's for a later date. Let's take a look at this closer, and I'll show you the interior and why these vehicles are so significant at this point in history and what they tell us. Another truck going by. This is the 1979 Chevy Love. I'm going to do a walk around here. Original deposit in the trunk of the, or excuse me, the rear bed of this pickup truck. Now these vehicles are important educational pieces for multiple reasons. One, there were people involved with this vehicle and they lost their lives in this eruption, and it is absolutely essential that we tell their stories and learn from them from this event. Number two, the physical vehicle itself tells us what was going on in the pyroclastic surge from Mount St. Helens, and namely the passenger compartment, the plastic components. Now the eventuality as we get funding is to remove these vehicles from where they are right now and bring them inside and preserve them under cover. So for now, they're kind of in a stasis. At 8.5 miles away from St. Helens, roughly, you can see the dashboard. These materials tell us the temperature ranges inside of this pyroclastic surge. Some plastics are melted more than others. Other materials are left completely alone. This car was displayed at a place called 19 Mile House for some time. It was actually put in the basement as a display. And I'm going to look to see if I have a picture on that, and if I do, I'm going to put it up in this segment. So that vehicle belonged again to Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick from Redmond, Oregon. To the left of that, Dodge W100 pickup truck, and this vehicle was recovered from Elk Rock area. And this is the vehicle that belonged to Arlene and Jolene Edwards out of Portland. As we mentioned on our introduction of Arlene and Jolene Edwards, their vehicle was hit from the front by the surge and flipped over onto the roof. And if we walk back towards the rear of the vehicle, we can actually see the crumple in the bed where this vehicle was literally on its rear end vertical as it was being rolled over backwards. This truck, as well as Harold and Joyce Kirkpatrick's and Robert Landsberg's vehicle is going to be eventually moved indoors in a proper facility. And this is a mixture of the weather and the eruption. But this vehicle in 1980 was far better than what it is right now, and it's a problem because we're losing these items so quickly. Here's an oddball. One of the ones that I actually really enjoy talking about because nobody was hurt with this particular vehicle. So what are we looking at? It's a 1978 Kenworth Brute. The information I have from Eric Cole, who we had mentioned before is the Rain Man of logging, he told me that Weyerhaeuser had ordered 12 of these in 1978. 6 went to the Longview Yard, and 6 were at Camp Baker up in the Tudor River Valley at roughly, well, what now would be milepost 27, the Tudor River Valley. This one right here has the Longview, Washington markings on the side, and was a truck from Longview that was stored up at Camp Baker. This particular vehicle, the truck itself, was destroyed by the mud flow and not by the pyroclastic surge, but there's still things that are interesting about it, that there obviously was heat inflicted onto this vehicle. Let's take a closer look at this. Okay, so this is just the cab at this point, and I'm going to kind of do a walk around here. The truck, when it was destroyed in 1980, was intact, and Weyerhaeuser started dismantling it. And my friend Clara recovered the cab. And that's about what they were down to. This cab is very heavy. Another logging truck going by. Logging continues today, just as it did in 1980. We're going to look inside of here. This cab again will be preserved just like the others. What's very interesting is this was destroyed by mud flow, but we know that there was some higher temperatures closer to the mountain, and we can see right here that the radio is melted. Quite a bit of heat damage. A lot of people notice that the, see if I can zoom in on this. Keys are still in the ignition. Okay, so I didn't really want to, but I have to address this car because you probably see it in the background on the video. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get all these comments saying you went over 4 vehicles outside, and we looked at those, and there's one in the back that you never mentioned. Well, here it is. This is, the reason why I didn't really want to mention this is that this is used as a learning tool when I have geology and volcanology students here from University of Texas and Mississippi State. And what I do is I give them this vehicle to look at after we go over the other ones to determine, is it a eruption vehicle or is it not? Another vehicle going by. And so the reason why I really didn't want to address it is because, I'll tell you, this is a 1991 Honda Civic that we found in the river. It was in the mud flow. There was doubt as to whether it actually was an eruption vehicle. We had the equipment on hand to recover it. Recovered it, brought it here, went over it. Pretty easy once we found the VIN. We know what it is. So what do you do now with this giant piece of metal that was pulled out of the mud flow? Apparently it was a car that, from our research, was just abandoned. So luckily we didn't uncover a crime or something like that, a stolen car. But what do we do with it now? So we use it as an education tool. What's different about this compared to the other ones? And the students will look at this and try and decide what it actually is. The funny part is if any of them for next year come across this video, they're going to know. So I guess I kind of blew my secret, but that's okay. I think we'll still be able to do well with this because we'll just change it up. What's different here versus the others? Pretty simple. So that's all the vehicles. We're going to head back up to the shop now and hopefully enjoyed this little piece coming outside here, and let's see what else we can do. All right, so here we are back in the museum, and hopefully you enjoyed that walkthrough of the vehicles and enjoyed the opportunity to look at them very, very close. There's, with this video, I mentioned about kind of misconceptions with the eruption, and one of the important ones that I wanted to cover in this particular episode was people in the blast zone or people in the eruptive zone of Mount St. Helens. So, as a lot of you know, there was a red zone and a blue zone set up around Mount St. Helens between March and May of 1980. The red zone extended out 4.5 miles, and then we have the blue zone after that. Red zone, no restriction, couldn't go in that area. Blue zone, heightened awareness area. You can enter it, camping, fishing, recreation, all of that. Heightened awareness, meaning should something happen, be prepared to leave. And unfortunately, after the eruption, when victims' names started to be released, people started being found in the area from this lateral surge, the governor immediately goes on TV and says, well, we have people jumping gates and going down roads and doing things that they're not supposed to. They're not listening to law enforcement. All of a sudden, the press and the president, President Carter, when he comes in the area, starts repeating this. And it's absolutely false. Here's the facts. Red zone. We have Harry Truman, Mount St. Helens Lodge. He told everybody he's not leaving. He doesn't care. Well, that's on him. That was his decision. Just down the road from him in a cabin, we have Bob Kesswetter and Beverly Weatherald, who are there under state permit to take pictures of the mountain for a geologic study. Okay, so they're there under permit. And then we have Jim and Kathy Pluard out of Toledo. Jim Pluard is a warehouser foreman who goes there to check landing sites in the area to make sure that there's no campers, tents set up on these landings so that the crews can start work on Monday morning. And those are the only people that are in the red zone at that time. We talked about Robert Landsberg, 4.5 miles west of Mount St. Helens, outside of the restricted area. In fact, he even placed himself accordingly so that he didn't violate any rules. Dave Johnson, we all know. He's up on South Coldwater Ridge, outside of the red zone. A geologist that's not thought of is Jim Fitzgerald by Spud Mountain. He's outside, he's actually further away than Robert Landsberg, outside of the red zone, and everybody else also. So this is one of the things that has stuck throughout history, is that these people were irresponsible. These people were in areas they shouldn't have been. Why are they there? A lot of our victims couldn't even see Mount St. Helens where they were. There were multiple ridge lines in between. And so that was something that I wanted to touch upon today. And one of the things that we talk about here as we put this museum together and look through these items and learn about this story. Now, everybody's learning now in a couple of small episodes here that I like to digress. Just got to make a point here. How do you like my new lavalier mic? Just put this on to film this segment. Came in the mail today, and I figured, why not? People are listening to me, and the sound was awful. It was making me cringe.
So hopefully it sounds a lot better, and we're going to continue to use this as I go along. I think it'll be really good outside. I made little notes here. The other one another topic I wanted to talk about was one of the resources that we use here, and it is probably one of the best resources you could ever find on the people of Mount St. Helens and the stories associated with it. And this is my colleague Richard Waite's book. It's called In the Path of Destruction. If you're interested in the book, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it for sale all different locations. I'm not even going to put a link in the description down here for it. I don't make any money off of this and don't intend to. But I do want to pass along very, very good educational material. And this is the top by my standards right here. Richard Waite in the Path of Destruction, outstanding book. I'm happy to say that Mr. Waite was here to take a look at this collection and gave me a lot of insight as to what was going on with these individuals, locations, and effects from the eruption. As a geologist and volcanologist, he knows a thing or two about it, and worked with the teams up there in 1980 to try and determine what was going on prior to the eruption, and has spent the rest of his career reconstructing this pyroclastic surge. So he definitely knows a thing or two. I hope one day to have him on here, do an interview, talk about his experiences. Very knowledgeable person. I think he'd be more than happy to do it. So that'll be something in the future that we will do. Also, kind of as an update, I have mentioned on here, new items coming. So I have a couple of really neat items. Spoke to some people recently, and we are going to be acquiring new items for the collection. Now, I'm not going to say what they are. I'm going to do an unveiling for you, but I can tell you that a bunch of the items are coming from a gentleman out of Portland by the name of Robert Rogers. And Robert Rogers was known as the Gray Man of Mount St. Helens. If you want to read an interesting story, look up online about the Mount St. Helens trespasser. And Robert Rogers, Francisco Valenzuela, who are the closest people to survive the eruption, like literally right on the edge of it. They take pictures like selfies, and Robert Rogers spends a whole bunch of time going through the blast zone of Mount St. Helens wearing gray clothing and riding a gray motorcycle, so he blends in with the landscape. Absolutely fascinating story. It's something that we're going to cover in the future. So look for that as we go along. The other thing is that today I had something going on that was kind of unusual, and that was I filmed a TV show for a production company. The two gentlemen that were here wouldn't say what production company it was from, and so we filmed this production for them, talking about Bigfoot. So here we are, actually getting involved with the whole Bigfoot thing, and wow, and what is happening here?
Afternoon, Joe.
Can you ever be discreet?
That's a negative, Ghost Rider. I don't know why I'm wearing a duster inside. My name's Colby.
This is like perfect timing. So I have Colby here today because you were supposed to be in the shop while I was doing this.
I'm never where I'm supposed to be. Just ask my mom.
Okay, so much for notes and all that. All right, so the last episode that I put together, I mentioned my colleague Colby Russell, and usually I have him under a net or in a box somewhere until he's needed.
Yeah.
And
Genie
now
in a
all of
lamp,
sudden he busts the door
Rub the
open
lamp.
and comes in. Are you wearing a mic too?
I am wearing a mic.
Oh, outstanding. So
I think it's all silly looking, though. I don't really know how to do any of this. I'm new to the camera, so...
All right, so we'll just roll with it.
Right
so
on.
Here is the legendary Colby Russell right here, my colleague in Mount St. Helens story, up and coming, learning what's going on and so forth. But main job, Bigfooter with the CSRO. And here I am. I'm going off of the Mount St. Helens story. We're going to go right into the Bigfoot stuff.
So have you talked about Bigfoot on the channel at all yet?
No, not yet.
Really? Okay, we're just getting started.
Briefly mentioned that.
Right on. Okay, so if you guys are into Bigfoot, super cool. We got a bunch of cool stuff coming on here. So, like Joe said, we had some folks coming in from a production company of some sort earlier today.
I have no idea what it was.
Yeah, they wouldn't tell us, and so it's
It's a project they're working on
Yeah,
for someone.
and they had a really cool drone, and they got some really cool drone shots of the Humvee and everything rolling through the woods. So
if I
super
get those,
cool.
I'm putting them on here.
Oh, please,
So people can
please
see,
do. Yeah, because they're really good. They're bona fide for sure. So my name's Colby. I've known Joe for a few years now. We got that thermal hit that's become kind of asked about. Shout out to Eli for putting that on the internet for us. That was super duper.
Small Town Monsters.
Yeah.
If you want to see that.
Yeah, no, look him up. He's good, but yeah.
So he's being very humble right now. Okay, so Colby went through training on operating the imaging system for the Humvee. By the way, at the CSR, the training is basically like this button does this, hit it, and you're.
Yeah,
am I right?
right? Honestly,
that's
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And then we just go out in the woods and it works fine.
Put her in 4 high.
There you go.
Watch her fly.
And so we go out this first night. We're working with a team up in the Olympic Peninsula. We got some of their team members with us. We go around this corner and we get this crazy
We weren't in the
thermal
Olympics though. We were in the South Pacific. The South
South Pacific.
Sorry, South Cascades. But the team is based kind of out of the Olympics area, and they've been working the site now for how many years?
Like
It's
7
been
years.
a
I think
long
it is.
time, yeah. And they've been tracking this one individual for quite some time, and they've been having a lot of interesting behavior. And so he's known to be kind of a prime target. And so they wanted our help. They said, "Hey, you guys got the Humvee. Why don't you come roll with us?" And so we didn't expect it. I didn't expect to get anything. I don't think either of us are really expecting to get much action at all. It's just a cool check out a new site, help the guys out, roll with it, whatever. It was my first full-on trolling mission as well, so I was seeing it more as a trial run more than anything.
He usually trolls the computers and not trolls Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's never online, but yeah. But the
That was pretty awful, by the way.
what was?
My joke. It was
That's
pretty
okay.
bad.
Yeah. So it's a joke. I'm kind of a Luddite. I have no social media. I have no internet. I don't watch the news or anything. So kind of an old man here. But no, yeah, we were rolling, and we weren't expecting to get much of anything at all. And long story short, I mean, the story's been told once, twice, plenty of times now. Go ahead and watch Eli's episode of Small Town Monsters for the full story on that. Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to add.
I don't know. What do you think? Should we do an interview with him?
Ask
don't know.
away, gang. Let's go. I'll answer questions. I'm better at answering questions than I am just saying things. So if there's questions, please bring them forward so we can talk.
Yeah, and we want to try and have Colby here to do the Bigfoot part of it. Again, I fell right off the wagon. We're going through all this Mount St. Helens stuff.
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do here, though, is also the Bigfoot side. I think the Mount St.
Absolutely.
Helens is kind of the main focus because we have all of these one-of-a-kind, rare, priceless artifacts here that need to be preserved. And other people do Bigfoot as well, but Bigfoot is definitely another huge part of what we're doing here, and we have a special setup for that. And we're hoping to get some really cool stuff. So as for the Bigfoot side of things, I think we're going to have fun. I'd like to go roll out with you guys and talk about not just Bigfoot, but I don't know. I think people don't have enough experience with the woods, and I want to kind of bring that into the forefront, get people interested and educated about what all is out there. As I think, unfortunately, a lot of folks are disconnected from the plants, the trees, the animals, the rocks, everything that does exist in this beautiful state. I really do think Washington State is the prettiest, not even pretty, just absolutely most gorgeous state in the lower 48, and maybe even out of all 50, to be honest with you. And I'd love to be able to share this beautiful piece of land with you guys so we can preserve it and be mindful of it and take good care of it. But I also want to get into the Bigfoot thing. I think what we're going to do here, we're going to have fun with the Bigfoot. A lot of people, I find, this isn't the bash on fellow researchers at all, but I think a lot of people take the Bigfoot thing very seriously. And we're looking for Bigfoot, guys. This isn't like, some big geological survey.
You're saying stop being so stuffy.
Exactly, yeah. We're
Gotcha.
having fun. We're going to roll through the woods in the Humvee at night looking for a hairy dude running around the trees. Like, why are we taking ourselves so seriously here? At the same time, though,
Yeah,
it is science. We got questions to ask. We both have encounters. We both have stories. And plenty of other people have stories as well, and a lot of people want to validate those stories, and they want to see what's going on. And I'm just in it to learn. We got enough consistent activity in the areas that we explore to be able to maybe start measuring some things, be able to get some data, and be able to kind of maybe get some ideas about how these critters are moving around. And go ahead.
He's the white cloud. We have things happen every time he's around.
It's ridiculous. We've had 2 things happen since the film crew left today. We had something happen across the river. We had something happen up on the hill. I'm not going to get into the details, but it's ridiculous. I think it's my squatchy senses. I think they like me, but I don't know. We'll see. It's I got a lot of hope, and I think we're going to find a lot of cool stuff here, and it's going to be cool to be able to take everybody with us and to have fun out there.
All the Bigfoot in the woods are fanboying on you, maybe?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
they can sign I'll sign their foreheads for them or whatever. I don't know, but we're gonna have fun. We're gonna be at Squatch Fest this year, January 26th. Is that in Kelso or Longview?
Kelso,
yeah. Cliff wants us to go, so we'll be there. Hopefully, we'll get some actual expedition time filmed and put on the internet for you guys before that.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We have a different approach to the Sasquatch side of things. I don't know if any of you guys aren't aware of, they've seen Abe, right? They've gone through the Humvee and MCSV and talked about all that.
Well, I haven't gone inside of it yet, but
okay.
they got an external
cool. Yeah, so
view
basically
of
we
what
have
we're
a unique setup here because we're able to run full IR pitch black all night, and that's something that nobody else really has, and so hopefully we can get some new info using that setup, because a lot of folks traditionally had the approach to looking for Sasquatch has been, I'm going to walk outside, I'm going to have my handheld FLIR, I'm going to make calls, I'm going to wood knock, I'm going to see what I can get, put up some trail cameras, but we're actually able to roll out there, go actually quite far, much farther than you could go on foot, because we have a vehicle that can do that not quietly, but not quietly at all.
But quiet and Humvee don't go together.
But definitely under the radar in a sense, in the fact that we can roll full dark. We have a good rolling base camp. We have some really high-tech cameras set up on there, and so hopefully with all that we can start getting some data and getting some cool stuff on the Bigfoot side of things as well. And so even if we were out there and we don't find Bigfoot, there's still plenty of stuff to see out in the woods that I want to be able to share with everybody too. So
yeah, this is the stuff that we work on at North Fork Survivors. I may not have mentioned before, the name of the channel is North Fork Survivors. If you do a Google search and type in just North Fork Survivors, buried A-frame, our location will come up here in Toutle for people that are in the area or plan on visiting the Pacific Northwest. You're more than welcome to come and visit us and hang out and take a look at the museum and go through the Bigfoot section. We can answer questions.
Yeah, tell us
show
your
you
stories, ask us questions,
absolutely.
talk with us, have fun. It'll be good.
It's easy to find us.
This is not a exclusive gatekeeper or we're the high and mighty researchers at all. This is citizen science, hands down. And so if you guys have ideas, if you guys have things you want to talk to us about, come on in, please share. This will be good. This isn't an exclusive closed doors kind of thing at all. This is
we're actually lucky we have doors on this place.
Honestly,
at this point.
tell me about it. Tell me about it. Good grief, with hinges and locks.
Yeah, doorknob too.
Whoa, that one's got a button on it too over there.
Oh, the bar for the safety bar. Yeah, that's some high end stuff right here in North Fork.
Bonafide for sure.
Absolutely.
So we're an exclusive thing here. For sure, but no, yeah, Joe and I have been buddies for a while. I kind of just walked in one day, my backstory. I kind of just walked in one day. Joe jokes about how I'm the cat that he fed once that won't leave, and it's kind of true. We've just been buddies for a long time, and it's been a lot of fun, and we've had a lot of. Honestly, we've been pretty successful, I think, on the Bigfoot side of things, and we got the Mount St. Helens stuff as well. The Bigfoot obviously is my first kind of priority, but I'm also helping and learning more about the Mount St. Helens side myself. So
you're a Northwesterner, you got to know it.
Honestly, yeah, you do. And so I think it's an important part of just the local history as well. And also another thing, I want to talk about like local history on this channel too, maybe some local legends and stuff, just to kind of share the culture of the Cascadia region, the Pacific Northwest and whatnot.
I got a question for you. In regards to the wood stuff you were talking about, appreciating the woods and stuff like that. I just thought of something. When we go out, you always talk about, all right, I'm going to put it this way for you. I'll turn around, take my pack off, and I'll say, hey, Colby, you want a snack? And I'll say, no, thank you. I just made a salad.
Yeah, right.
Are you willing to talk about stuff like that?
Definitely.
Like,
I want to go out there.
And things in the woods?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
okay.
I want to go in there. I want to talk about how, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my head, like how lichen can be seen. You can tell the health of a forest based on like the lichen grown in the trees, stuff like that. And like mycorrhizomal networks that connect the trees and kind of help share nutrients, and you can tell the life of an ecosystem based on which kind of critters are growing in the area. And so I'm not a scientist, I'm not an ecologist, and so I don't always have the big fancy words or anything, but just kind of, again, citizen science. We can talk about how things are looking geologically, how things are looking just topographically, and that's a map. That doesn't make any sense. We're just winging this, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, talking about all sorts of things, talking about plants and whatnot. I'm a little apprehensive talking about like edible plants. I don't want somebody to go say, "Oh, Colby said I could eat this," and then kill themselves.
Right.
So, but maybe some survival stuff. I'm not sure. But maybe
Do what I do. You have a book that you recommend? You know, when we get to that point, is there something that you can recommend?
Oh, not off the top of my head, but I can look around
Okay.
for something like that. Yeah, and we can talk about that. I like to complain about cars. That's a funny thing. You want to get me talking, get me complain about cars. You can cut that out. That's fine. That's nothing to do with the channel. That's okay.
No, it has to do with you. So, as everybody can tell, this is kind of an improv, informal thing here. Most of my videos most things I film, I do them in one take. I'm not out to edit the heck out of something and make it all look perfect and stuff. The whole point of this channel is to bring you on the journey with us. And frankly, a lot of stupid stuff happens, and there's mistakes and things like that. And if I edit all that stuff out, like, you know, we're not perfect.
No, not at all. We're
perfect. We like people to, like, if you were sitting here with us, we're going to go out and have some fun and learn some stuff, whether you're into the archaeological side of it or the cryptozoological side of it. We're going to cover everything, and who knows, we might be able to make somebody go from one side to the other and be able to appreciate everything, as well as, like Colby brought up a great point, just being out in the woods and doing stuff. My friend Cliff Barrickman said to me one time, a long time ago, that a bad day Bigfooting is a nice day camping. And that is absolutely true. I remember that all the time when we go out in the woods.
And honestly, there's so much more to the woods than just Bigfoot. And a lot of people, well, that's not true at all. Not a lot of people, but I don't want this to be all about Bigfoot, like it's the only thing out there, because you can walk a quarter mile out into the woods and pass a whole universe of life that most people just glance by, you know. But there's so much going on there that we can talk about and learn about and see how things are going and how things are working out. That was not my phone, by the way. I don't have my phone on me. Right?
I forgot to turn my.
I'm sorry. Case in point, I just wanted to make sure. I'm saying I'm not on my phone ever, and then the phone goes off. Not my phone.
No, that was me.
Okay.
Boy, you throw me under the bus quick on that one.
I'm sorry. I'm surprised. When I rolled in, I'm surprised you didn't call out my nature of, here comes this Tonka Herbo, so that's okay. That's fun. So.
No, he escaped from his cage. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. I know the passcode. It's never mind. I'm not going to say the passcode because then you guys don't know the passcode.
Well, very cool. I'm glad you came in here, actually. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Good introduction.
Thank you.
And yeah, so stay tuned. We'll bring you another one. We'll keep working on this stuff. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Trying to build this channel here and get as many people involved with this. Don't forget to look us up. You're welcome to ask questions. One thing I do want to throw on the end, since I have Colby here, is any suggestions of things you would like to see. The CSRO cooking channel out in the woods is something I'll throw out there, cowboy cooking, or what you would like to see with Bigfoot research. What would you like to see in regards to the St. Helens story, because we can cover it all here. And for those that are interested in the Bigfoot side of it, do you have any ideas of things that you think we should try in the woods to try and gain evidence? There's a lot of people out there that are sitting there watching these shows and going, "You're an idiot. Why don't you try such and such?"
Yeah. Please.
Well, you know what? Tell the idiots what you think we need to do, and we'll try it out. And we'll give some shout outs here to people that come up with good ideas, and we'll see if we can't do something for you, if we can get good evidence going. We're going to start promoting some stuff here too in the future.
Definitely.
So cool. So remember, like, subscribe. Thank you. Appreciate everybody, and thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you, guys. It's going to be fun.